Oh, through administrations. And since before Facebook was on Facebook, they have rules with databases, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, and the networks with their difference of the when they're making logics and subject treatments, they're being influenced to hide collusion slash S with their intelligence sources, names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the interbranch intelligence names with the state corrections offices and the state judicial branch offices, for example, of Connecticut, involved interstates and intrastates, intercampuses and intracampuses with predicate acts methods, federal evidence is crime methods. I'm not even a lawyer, I don't have to be. There are lawyers too, using their difference, just like the parties' voices are using their difference. Tactical ulterior from what could defend that and afford the right syntax with convictions, let alone legal ones. Not even a lawyer, don't have to be. Lawyers originally still, when they make the subject treatments about witch trials, what they're about, it should have surfaced if people had followed rules in nature properly. There's a witch trials place right next to Webb House, now renamed the Webb Stevens Museum. Still, appreciation of our founding locations, communicating other than our founders communicated to have communicated for those locations. People don't realize this because they replaced and they kept self-valid roles with interpretations of our founders' words. And the only founder we know the name of is James Madison. They have James Madison's communications to us replaced. And about how all the presidents slash chiefs and all the colonists and all the Native Americans, the rest of the Native Americans, they were all forced to use that plan. That encompassed an extent of the Native Americans agreeing, whether realizing or not. But then there is president slash chief. There are other proofs that there are Native Americans that enabled that leverage to counter extort people at key locations inside more than 13 colonies and to force them to break to an extent the laws that were in effect all forced roles with a torture, extortion, in fact, chibi nature slavery method. Forgiveness slash non-forgiveness. See, they were shocked and awe about how to respond to the disrespect of themselves at locations, the presidents. And there are proofs that, in other words, because right through administrations, they have help, that is collusions. That's on they hurt each other. And the only help they can get to an extent is if they entertain people with logic, natures of logic that can't defend that and afford to be, let alone to protract. Short words with convictions proper. Again, just regarding that principle, why James Madison is the only founder we know the name of. And no one even allows people to be honest about George Washington, but also everyone has delusions that are relative. And now this is where you guys start using psychiatry's phrases, including the ones as doctors, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, rot, principles of reality treatments. We're going to examine how they have rules with how it has been replaced so long, even though it had been declassified, about how all our founders were using James Madison's plan and how they were forced counter-extorted to break internationally monitored conversations. The rules juxtaposed with that per a hyperforeign breaching method, but juxtaposed as overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and terrorists, manifest only capable of being. The counters to it as a collusion slash S with the hyperforeign. It is recorded the value of their syntax and their nature while using it, when they use the words radical or extremism since the World Trade Center attack, as collusion slash S leading up to it and since. Increasingly, fire departments have roles with foreign and domestic military and Russians involved with the counters to the Russian syntax. See, everyone's forced, the interbranch are refusing to get on paper because right through they've been collusion slash us with all natures of crime scenes. This is various ways recorded. That's why how they are shown they need to do things like switch names, sports names into branch. How they gonna speak properly about crimes when they have predicate acts with facts, methods, needs, and natures being and having been used remotely, criminally, foreign influence, tactical delusions, raw. That's the value of what WTNH syntax was when they faked conversations with me, with locations with me, with them, and with others, and they attached me to fake communications with my family about murders and killers and people next to body dumping spots I never even spoke with them about, and child abusers, leaders of kids years apart, first forced. I caught them forcing collusions with the ones from years before that while they were forcing a principal child abuser involved with way worse than upskirt pictures with the shopping centers and intercities and intra cities with the malls too, with the same names involved. A whole bunch of people tied to the Morrow family and a Cololo family with the intelligence community have a bunch of intelligence with the families at and next to Harvard Hospital, involved with their educators too, involved with predicate acts against me, putting fake transcripts with judges, prosecutors, their family members, people associated with them, acting for others to all sides of criminal and civil cases, the law, the lawyers, the interbranch names, their family members, the news names, intelligence next to them, they all put the same sequence ships and fake motivations already. Increasingly, in other words, I never tried to contact the Violet family. They sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. They have roles of identity theft, fraud, slander, just trying to make fake exceptions with people on my street. And their roles with West Hartford Intelligence and people with Canada and Mexico and Korea. And their roles with my principal had roles with Korea, apparently, and with the military. And his daughter, Mr. Murphy's daughter, she has a boyfriend involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me. I never had a class with her. They tried to take my picture near her one time. John Mayano is increasingly involved with people with where the morals market is now and where it used to be. Involved with them with federal evidence, with child abuses, identity sequence shifts, with people his educators are involved with on my street, with people tied to him who recorded him involved with them, with child abuses, identity theft, fraud, slander, sequence shifts, falsified police reports, fake transcripts, interbranch intelligence tied to them, as these ones are also on off the state corrections offices and judicial branch offices, roles all kinds of organized crime methods juxtaposed with the breaching method. See, the breaching method made collusions with its method to make a whole bunch of methods of criminal insidious natures, needs, and styles of logic, natures that value as that. Some things are only natural, but as criminal insidiousness. So I'm not a lawyer, but I don't have to be. We'll get the lawyers, but we have to get them on paper into branch. They're refusing to get on paper, so because they are shown they need to keep the wrong outcome /s with everything that comes before them, because they were shown they were used criminally foreign. They were used because they were child abuse. Forgiveness is also because they're faking and changing. Oh, they're accusing me. I'm focused on get me off fake transcripts. I'm accusing you. Get me off fake transcripts into branch now. And intelligence tied to them. Whole bunch of other countries at the same time. Then they're sequence shifting and covering up the sequence shifts, because there are Russians with the other countries too, and people from Saudi Arabia involved interstates with Connecticut networks and intelligence next to their locations. You guys never had one legitimate patriotism, one legitimate nature. You guys are criminally delusions wrought too. That's why get on paper one name and sequence so we can settle these things properly.